Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Sukhjeet Singh. I'm a CS faculty here at De Anza, and tonight's talk is about trends in emerging technologies. So, we'll start with, I guess I've already done my introduction, and I think I know some of you guys. We do this lecture series whenever we can, and we have guest speakers that sometimes come out of the industry and sometimes our faculty. They volunteered their time. Um, Tonight's talk is more about understanding what's going on in the industry. And I'm trying to take a perspective of what are some of the industry traits that will drive your actions to success. And then I want to tie that to what we are trying to do. We also have a very strong computer science curriculum. We are also always trying to align our programs to what the industry needs are. In fact, myself, in 1994, I was a student here, and it was at that time this college was providing vocational training on some key things that were needed at the time. And we've always been known to be emerging, and so that pride is really what brought me to for teaching at De Anza, and we're just continuing that. So I'm just happy about that, and I want to share that with you because this is the time when I get to market De Anza also, right? So it's a great place to it's a great place to be. So once we have talked about the industry traits and the job traits and what you all can do, then we will get into what are your traits. And next week, same time, same place, I'm going to give you the lowdown on how to write a resume and kind of build your profile using the social engines, social networks that are available, right? So how to choreograph that effectively, meaning how to write a resume to get a job. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to write your resume. That you already know. But how do you use the modern tools? So we'll leave the questions for that on next Thursday. Tonight will be about emerging technologies.
I was gonna say, are you referring to like LinkedIn
Oh no, that's Stone Age.
or? Okay, Stone Age.
Yeah, isn't it? Okay, all right. That's why. Oh well, we'll focus on that. So let's talk about technology trends today, right? Because finding a job is important, but finding a job where is more important, right? And you have to figure out. Today is not about you per se, right? Or today is about looking at the entire technology sector and trying to figure out what's going on, right? So there are some statements here that are overarching statements that apply from the last 50 years, right? So what we're going to do is look at this kind of abstract view of technology, look at what the perception of technology is across the stack, then and then we have what the future looks like based on what's happened in the past, right? So I think what I'm trying to draw your attention to is that we learn from our past to predict our future. And that's really what I'm trying to do with technology. Okay? So read these three statements. Technologies evolve over time, providing exponential growth in several areas. True? Semiconductors, databases, programming languages, whatever you know, right? Then there are times when there are slowness. Like I think one assumption I have is that we're probably coming into a recession in the next 2 to 3 years. So when things slow down, what happens? People lose jobs. That becomes an opportunity for retooling yourself. And if you're a fresher with a new degree, you have to really look for a role where your skills directly apply. So understanding what is an emerging trend and putting yourself into that trend sets you apart. Okay? So I'm also looking at the last 30 years and the number of slowdowns that I've personally seen has allowed me to understand at a personal level what skills I should continue bearing. And then there is the other artifact from a technology perspective, like when we talk about the internet and the social networks and the mobile evolution. I won't call it revolution. And now nanotechnology's emergence, and then the futuristic of big data impacting, giving you social intelligence in pretty much everything you do, right? These are all trends that I'm trying to draw your attention to. And so what happens is, when there is something new, right, a lot of companies emerge and they say, I'm going to build the next sexy thing, and they fail. And then there are a few that stick around and they're well funded and they're good ideas, and it's generally a function of, how the good ideas win, just like, selecting the politicians today. Not that I want to talk about that today. So when you are faced with, if you're going to be working in technology, it's imminent that you'll have these slow times that you'll be confronted with. And what you do at that time is not get discouraged and not worry about your age or gender. It's all about what you know. And then there are people that start late in technology, and as long as they are looking at the new trend, life is great and they're employed. So it's all about what you know. And oh, by the way, there is no job security in technology. Those jobs where you would get retirements, they're gone. What is your job security, people? Your skill set. Your skill set. And second thing that's your job security is your emotional intelligence. How you treat people. By not being, silly in reactions. So that is so important. If when I was 20 something, somebody told me that, I would have been, I would have done well. So.
Like silly in like what respect?
Huh?
Like silly, like how is it like silly reaction?
Well, you don't get along with someone, so you leave the job.
Oh.
Silly.
Oh, okay.
You don't like what the boss says. Boss communication style is email and no phone calls, and you like texting. And that is a difference of communication, so understanding what the communication style is. These are just a couple of examples.
So just adapt to
And
communication stuff?
adapting to the environment,
Okay.
and not being a prima donna.
Okay.
Don't get
It's-
emotionally attached.
Huh?
Don't be emotionally attached.
No, my friend.
Or let emotions persuade your.
We'll talk about that today.
Okay.
So not everything that you're bringing up is going to be for next week. Emotion is so important. So I want to leave that to the end, and then if you guys are interested, I'll cover that. But let's get through this. The future of software engineering. So you got these first 4 bullet points, right, everyone? Now, what is the future? Analytics conversions. So databases were pretty large, were pretty big in 90s, and they got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where we have started calling it big data because we have gotten sick and tired of calling them relational databases, VLDBs, and large storage systems. Now we call it big data. Now when you have lots of data, how do you get meaningful information? You analyze that information, right? So what is the difference between data and information? Data is, De Anza College has got hundreds of courses. It becomes meaningful when we say, by group of those courses, you can get a certification that helps you find a role in XYZ. See, now that data became information, that's what analytics convergence is talking about, that you can, lots of things that are being recorded, lots of things that are being that are all data oriented have to be analyzed. And it's not that, there are a lot of new companies that are coming up that are trying to provide just in time information. Let's take an example of that quickly. When you're using Google Maps, you sometimes get these little suggestions saying, oh, by the way, there is heavy traffic here if you take this route, right? That means contextualized information, just in time information, so you can get the smarts that you need to perform the work that you need to at a given point in time. See, Google Maps and Facebook and these other application environments have started doing this, and they're providing the foundation to creating these kinds of applications in the workplace. Let's take an example. Let's go to a large company. You can think of any large company. If they have sales systems, right, or duplication of some internal software systems. So if somebody needs a new piece of software or application, what they'll do is just build it without checking, does anyone else in the company have it? Now, if the company has 50,000 people, how do you check with 50,000 people, right? So something has to be done to simply find out what's the inventory of applications that exist. And oh, by the way, if one department has written, can I use it? That's simple intelligence that can be added. Then there is also just-in-time information that is needed to do the work. You guys are working on a lab assignment, you run into a problem, you need help. What do? Stack Overflow, Google, discussion board, ask a friend, ask a teacher, right? How about Siri-like system that is smart on C++ that can answer, that can look at what you're doing and give you just-in-time help? Why can't those kinds of agents, why can't those type of agents, why can't those be built, right? So think of, these different types of applications are referred to as use cases in software engineering world, right? So you can do something. These kinds of use cases have to be built to bring together smartness and to-the-point information, anytime, anywhere. I mean, if you have a self-driven car and you're reading news and the car is stuck because of whatever reason, it needs to be able to self-heal from that issue that we may call an exception, right? So the idea is that you and I, or maybe not me because I'm kind of getting old. I put that on the recording. Now nobody will hire me. You guys are going to end up developing applications that will provide automation in these different spheres, right? So that's where we start with this like broad trend, and then we'll start zooming into. So let's look at. I'll not bore you with the animation. It's kind of cool, I thought, but the colors are weird. I am colorblind, so please forgive me. So these are the layers. This is also looking at the Taco Bell 7-layer burrito, and let's look at our past a little bit. This is not the 7-layer model, you TCP/IP people, or what is that 7-layer model for networking? I'm not talking about that. This is how I view the stack. There is operating systems, there is computer networks, there is storage area networks, there's databases, there's application connectivity, because if you're trying to connect, if you're just to talk about application connectivity, how many social networks are there, and how many user IDs do you have? Rhetorical question. So if you are part of 15 social networks, and you have one thing to say to those 15 networks, because you have so many friends on those 15 networks, what happens? You want to have a mobile app on the go, so you type a message with a picture or a video or whatever, and it goes out to all 15 networks with one. That's an application connectivity use case. So I can talk to Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. I don't get that. I'm not part of that social network yet, or Instagram. And then there is WhatsApp that I've recently started using, connecting with my high school friends, from 30 years back. So anyway, improved application connectivity. So, when you think of this layer, you think of RESTful APIs, you think of SOAP. Yeah, and in the Stone Age, we used to think of sockets, socket connectivity. So these are all. Then we have application engines, because you can write your own server, but today we don't do that. We actually take a server that's already written, and we just put our objects in it and say run, and that makes application development faster. And then you have the presentation layer, which is our Stone Age smartphones that we have, your web top devices, tablets, and your desktops. These are all going to be, when I think of the presentation, it's presentation of information. So when you look through all these layers, there is evolution. And where you see the word matured means there's a lot of technology that's already developed. So refried beans, seasoned rice, and tomatoes are fairly mature. But when we look at lettuce, guacamole, cheese, and sour cream, well, you got stuff that is emerging in those areas still. So this is the infrastructure of our current technologies. And then cloud computing fits somewhere. Well, across all there. So, and the business models for how software or services are sold has also completely changed. We're not shipping CDs. Even Oracle, that used to sell Oracle licenses, is now hosting, and it went into cloud business in June of 2013. And they're huge now in the cloud business, trying to host everything instead of selling licenses. So, if there is one thing that's constant, is change. Because, the earth is moving under us, and it actually is literally all the time, right? Everything is moving. Everything in this stack is moving. And what you are doing as a learner, and me also as a learner, the only difference is I learn to teach classes and you learn to apply. And sometimes, actually, the first thing I do when I learn something new is I learn to apply and then teach, because then I can teach better. So one habit to form, to live with something that is changing at such a high velocity, right, is to get the code down. So code is the core computer science stuff. So if you're a transfer student looking at doing your undergrad, or you're doing your master's, or you're vocational from another domain, get the core down. And I have a slide on that in the end. But then select one area that appeals your taste. Appeals your taste is a function of your personality, right? So depending on the skills that are required for a specific job, go read those, right? And when you we'll talk about this next week, and when you apply for jobs, right? You have to read the job descriptions and align and figure out what's in there. Because one of the things we do often is we apply at a rate at which positions open, and we get a response at that same rate. And what I mean by that is, if I'm applying to 100 jobs a day, I'm getting rejected on all 99 because nobody's reading. You follow, right? So what I'm suggesting is read the job descriptions, read the skills, and see what excites your mind with. So then align the skills that the industry needs to your liking. So one of the things I did for myself is I figured out early in my age that I wanted to be in a coaching environment, because I can just do it for 14 hours a day without getting tired and not feel like it's a job. When you have that, you will thrive. What drives you is simply you, and I mean it. And it is the emotion, that emotion, what drives you. If you end up in a job where you say, oh my God, I'm at a job and I have to be here for 8 hours, that's not a job you want to be in. Get out and get to a job that is of your liking. So before you kind of get confronted with that situation at the workplace and say, I don't like, do the survey ahead of time. And I'm going to talk about this particular subject next week. Okay? Question? No question? Question?
Yeah, my question is actually, the fields such like mobile computing, like Android developer, and to become an Android developer, this is much easier than to become scientist in artificial intelligence or machine learning. So I mean, how do you think about this? Actually, when people are still young, and I mean, so
I'll continue to answer your question. Your question is becoming an Android developer is so easy.
I think it's not
So-
so hard, but it's like you're making your money at a young age, and but the long term, it seems to be like I don't know. So
You want me to answer your question?
if you can.
I can. That's what I'm working on.
Okay.
Winning a small amount of lotto. Learning, that's winning lotto to me. Learning Android in 4 months, not other technical skills, and going out and start cranking out apps, and that's the hardest thing. Okay, you've ridden the trend. But what happens to the individuals that have spent 4 years going through an undergrad but don't know Android development? So now you have the skill, but they don't, because the university they went through, they focused on building a foundation, a base. How the computer works, what is bits and bytes to complex algorithms to, things like machine learning, the topics that you brought up. See, sometimes when you need a job and being a vocational, riding that vocational trend to learn a technology, to become a technician type, that's a technician type job in my opinion. Nothing wrong with that. While you're going to school and making money, perfectly fine. But when you take that on in parallel, right, if your goal is to live in this work domain and work in this work domain, then getting the foundations are super important. Any educator will tell you that. Any person that is hiring people will tell you that. So early on, when I had to make a decision, I actually went through that same process. Because what it does is, when you know how to drive a car, you can drive any type of a car. So the process of driving, right? So if I talk about just software, the process of design doesn't change. But these tools come and go. But moment Android is gone, your skills are gone. Now you have to retool yourself. But if you haven't developed the algorithmic capabilities, the design capabilities, right? And actually, as you're developing apps, you will in practice do that. But sometimes then you're also confronted with slow times, which was my very first slide. Fourth bullet. When you're confronted with slow times, there's more supply than demand, who gets hired? Well, who gets hired is based on also who you know. Connections in this industry are very important. But so to answer that question in one simple term or few sentences would be, please do that, but don't make that your life. At some point, go get an associate's degree. Don't delay that, And your job security in this is in knowing multiple skills. So that redundancy will give you the competitive edge. So I need to focus on the trends and then take your questions in the end, if I may.
Okay.
Unless it's a short one.
Well, my question was going on to your analogy from the 7-layer burrito. The applications that you listed that are in the infancy stage are and mature. You're also corresponding with the longevity of
I
the
am.
application. So these mature ones are established, but their longevity, they're going to be surpassed, right? Or
No, they are going to be around. I mean, if we talk about the new features that will be added in operating systems, right? We're not going to see something earth-shattering coming out. But when we talk about storage area networks, I mean, since EMC and network appliance, there has been other companies that are emerging trying to make that technology better, right? So when you look at these layers, right, So let's look at data presentation layer. Let's look at the wireless mobile devices. I call them wireless devices. When we look at mobile devices, smartphones, Android OS is about 6 to 7 years old, right? Is it likely that Android and iOS devices will be around forever? Will the smartphones will be around? Will these devices be completely replaced with maybe a 3D virtualization technology type device where the input output artifacts have completely changed, right? What will happen? That's why I use the term infancy, because there is that rapid shift from one platform to another, right? So this is again my perspective. This is not like industry standard, okay? I'm just giving you my perspective on how I view things, which is one of 7.3 billion people on this earth, all right? So take it with a grain of salt. But this has helped me understand where to focus, right? So if I'm the creative type and I'm the artsy type, I'll work in data presentation layer. If I am the person that likes to connect things, like I was good in plumbing at home and I was taking on plumbing jobs, I might go and do application connectivity now. See, so what I'm trying to do is link who you are around these two talks today and next Thursday, link who you are to where you might consider. Because sometimes it's soul searching, right? Finding your calling. And sometimes it's like, I made a decision, I don't know if it's right, but I'll try, and then maybe I'll try another layer later. Because you try and fail and then succeed and so on, right? So, having talked about those 7 layers, right? And now I want to move a little forward to the future and basically look at these 4 circles. These are the 4 major things that are driving today, 2016, and also the future. Social networking has been around for about a decade. Social networking is emerging not only on broad basis trying to get the entire planet Earth on Facebook and then Mars later, but it's also that subdomains are coming up or sub areas are coming up with social networks. And I'll provide you with a list later on. So, social networks in healthcare, social networks for cancer patients that need to have survival strategies for cancer. So, people with, and then there is, eharmony.com. 28 dimensions of compatibility, and you can find the love of your life. You always see that gentleman that looks like he's got a beard, I think, or he doesn't. He used to come on these ads and talk about that's a social network too, right? Cloud. Cloud is the infrastructure. This is a huge change in the way computing is. Rather than have a desktop that is in front of you in this lab, what if that desktop was in the cloud and you could access your personal desktop at De Anza College from anywhere? Because you like to be at Starbucks or Pete's, and then you're at work, and then you're driving home, and in your car you want to do your homework. Why can't you access your cloud? Now, I'm not suggesting while driving, obviously. So, when we talk about access to information anytime, anywhere, right? Cloud is going to enable that with mobile. Now, mobile, we all know we have electronic gadgets. You'll have your belt will have smartphones, like 4 of them, because you're trying to stay connected with the world. You're going to have tablets. You're going to have desktop devices. And just, I was on hold for a conference call earlier today, and there was a research from, a result from a research firm that said we look at our smartphones 44 times a day. And our habits of work are changing. We're not trying to sit at a desk and work, right? Our attention spans are also changing. We're not trying to focus on one thing, we're trying to focus on N things together. And there is also high context switching, because you're trying to you know, you're making coffee for yourself, you're taking a phone call, the baby is crying, and you're making the next sales presentation plan. You're doing all of those things together. Work and home are getting mixed. The mobile aspect of information availability is only the starting point. I mean, you look at Google Play and you look at the iOS platform. There are 500 million apps out there, but how many of those are useful? Less than 1%, or maybe a fraction of the 1%. Well, what about all the others? Those are utilitarian applications that serve a need, right? Obviously, whenever you write a mobile app, your goal is what? That it should be the top, like you're doing the next killer app. And everyone and their dog is thinking that. Even the dog is saying, I'm going to make the killer app, right? But it doesn't work like that, right? Mobile computing has to be carefully understood. It's not just Android operating system and iOS. It's what it connects to. What happens with it? How does it connect to social? How does it connect to the cloud? And then how does it connect to the big data and analytics? A close friend of mine has created a company called Pwc, P-Y-Z-E. It's about mobile apps connecting to big data, so you can get real-time information. I mean, these startups are coming out of our ears, right? So your goal for your personal skill set might be to look across these layers, to look across these trends and make some choices, so then you can start doing some research. So now that begs the question, where? Because all the modern apps are going to be built across these 4 major domains. Yeah? So now where do you go? Well, go and work in one of these companies if you can find the name. I can see Cloudera. I guarantee that you cannot see all the company names. But these slides are going to be on the ANZA's Computer CIS website. These slides are actually already there because I gave a talk last quarter. So you have access to the slides, in case you don't end up getting a picture. Sorry, hang on with. Industry trades with big data. Cloud. Which company is the mommy of the cloud? VMware. Huh? VMware. VMware is for the cloud infrastructure. Yeah, you can say software as a service. So yeah, it's mommy of SaaS. Who's the mommy of big data? Google. Good answer. Who's the mommy of social?
Facebook.
By numbers? Or would you say MySpace? How many of you still have a MySpace account? See, years before Facebook was MySpace, right? Mm-hmm. And now you can see there are social networks, and there are literally over 15,000 social networks worldwide that are trying to assemble people together, right, for productivity. And you can look across these circles and you can say social needs mobile, social needs cloud, social needs big data, right? Think of big data. Big data needs mobile because you have to dispense the information. Big data has to run in the cloud. Big data needs social because it needs data. What's happening with Facebook, right? What do you guys all do on Facebook? You put all your feelings, everything. I mean, I've got my friends that are sitting next to each other on the sofa. How are you? I'm fine. Hey, just talk across, for crying out loud. You're putting your feelings online. So then what would Facebook and big data engineers say? What did Bob say to his wife at a given point in time? How many times does he ask, how are you? I'm just coming up with a funny example. But the point is, all that data is being analyzed. And if they know I'm at the sofa saying, how are you, in front of the TV, what ad can be served? And oh, by the way, he likes Levi's jeans. So let's give him an ad of Levi's jeans, and because I have a picture of him on Facebook, let's put his picture on the person wearing the Levi's jeans and give him a 20% discount so he'll buy it right away. See, that's where sales is going with all this. Now, if you look at just that simple use case, that I just went through, it needs all these four. Okay, so this gives you the current lay of the land with big data, with cloud, with social, and mobile. Okay. Now, what happens in the future? Connect, connect, connect. Just connect things, whether it's a small, so one connectivity. You go to the gym, you pick up weights, and you do, 3 sets of this and 4 sets of that. How many calories have you burnt? There's no app for that. Now, there is an app that tracks at 24-hour fitness how many times I've been in, right? And there is a Samsung app that tracks my steps, but it has problems tracking, it has problems. Yeah, you think, right? Fitbit, right? Oh, right. I think, so now I'll have all these gadgets on me, right? Then there is someone that came up with a t-shirt that they say, well, you can wear a t-shirt and then that will track your, exercises. Well, what about the leg exercises? No, well, you can wear the shorts, but then what about the lower half of the legs? What about, see, so many use cases. And the point is that you can create these individual, so you become an Android technician.
Actually, my goal is not to become an Android.
No, I'm not saying. I wasn't personalizing to you. I'm sorry, I look here. You, nobody here, become the Android technician. Right? I wasn't being personal. You become an Android technician and you build these small apps, right? But then somewhere those have to be connected. And even in the skill set of an Android engineer, you need to understand how C++ works. What are data structures? How do you design structured stuff? How do you do object-oriented design? You have to understand your operating systems. You have to understand all those things that happen in an undergrad in computer science. Wireless. Wireless just doesn't refer to mobile devices. It also refers to network engineers. It also refers to network security. It also refers to wireless technologies and emergence and the rapid increase of speed on wireless technologies. See, every time you get a bump from, like, say, when we went from 3G to 4G and to the next bandwidth and so on, that brings in newer capabilities, newer use cases. And when companies like T-Mobile come and say unlimited bandwidth, well, guess what happens? You guys are going to be watching the video lectures from your classes on your way to home. Because it's free, it's there, right? So newer ways of usage comes in. So what I'm trying to draw your attention to is that when one of those layers changes, it changes the other 6. So if there are storage area network experts and the bandwidth increases, they've got some new things to work on and create. And that cross-dimensional thinking is going to be the basis for your own self-discovery. Because nobody's going to tell you, do this, right? Nobody's going to do that. But as things change, and you basically keep up with all this stuff by looking at InfoWorld and these emerging technology journals, and it's all a function of your interest. So, emerging language platforms. See, I don't get this. Why not just have C? Okay, you have C++, and then you came up with Java, and then there's Python, and then there's TickleTK, and then there's Ruby, and now there's Scala, and it just keeps going. So my job security could be I create a 3-course series in every language that's taught. That's 300 courses. So if you're a technician, take the classes. I'll take these 3. I have that skill. I'll put it on my resume. They'll hire me. No, that will not work. See, there is a point in life with learning software that you can learn 1, 2, 3 languages. And you can do a deep dive on those 3 languages, but then there comes a point that You basically know enough, and you say, you know what? When the instructor was teaching the class, she was going through these steps, I'll go through those same steps. So those patterns enable your rapid learning. Okay? So what we're basically doing tonight, guys, is pattern thinking. Right? We're talking about patterns in technology. So there has to be a personal pattern which basically says to you, this is the structure of learning. And when I'm going to learn next language, I'm going to do it like that. So you don't have to sit through a Coursera class or a MOOC, that you can sit with a book and go. Right? What's the best way to learn? Fail fast. First, there is that inside that says, oh my God, if I wrote a program with this and my computer catches fire. Then the next thing is, okay, my computer did not catch fire, let me try. Okay? And then, so my point is, fail fast. It's a wonderful lesson from people like Steve Jobs that said, if you want to do something, try it. And if you fail, well, get up and go and try again. That's how the best products at Apple were built, right? So, platforms for small and embedded devices, this is still emerging. You know, those beautiful Arduino boards, the plug computing from Marvell, you know, things from Intel where they're making these entire computer chipsets on these small things so you can have computers you plug and they run, right? So. Now take that to nanoscale, right? What if there was nano dust? And the dust particles were CPU and RAM and storage and so those nano dust particles just get together and makes a computer for you when you need it. You've executed your program, and when you're done, you move away and you take the output and move on. What about that kind of contextual computing? The rapidness of refers to those small and embedded devices. The kind of devices I talked about haven't been created. It's my fiction. That the earth will be covered with nanoparticles, and when we need a computer, we will just get one, and we'll never need to buy one because computer will just be free. Right? It's a nice vision, right? Let's see. If it happens, you can call me a visionary. Otherwise, call me a non-visionary. But be constructive, okay? Security. This is another emerging area. Security. You have to make everything secure. You want me to refresh the memory for the Taco Bell 7-layer burrito? Right? Security across all layers. And are you ever secure? What is the most secure thing you can do? Shut down your computer and remove it from the network. Or if you have a computer that's running, make sure it's not on the network. That computer is secure. Then the problem starts, I'm connected. What am I doing with that computer? Then you get all these gurus. I'm going to talk about the operating system security. I'm going to talk about network security. Oh, now you're accessing a database. You have to talk about database security. You're accessing a storage area network over a network. Well, how else will you? It's called a storage area network for that reason. You will access that over a network. Let's think about that security. On and on. Not to mention mobile devices, and you have your okay, and then the big data. What is big data?
Huge amounts of data.
Data that is big. That's basically what he said. You guys know your bits and bytes? What's a petabyte?
1,000 gigs.
It's like
How many petabytes is Facebook? About 5 petabytes. 5. Oh, I don't have it in this slide. Anyway, it's on Wikipedia. Look it up. You should know your bits and bytes. And I'm not talking about up till Tera. Tera is Stone Age. Now you need Zeta and Pronto and Peta, those kinds of things.
Exa.
Huh?
Are we at Exa yet?
Exa is beyond is less than Peta. XI is very small. So by the time you're ready to go to Mars, if you don't know your bits and bytes, they'll say you can't get on the engine on that shuttle. Sorry, bad joke. Convergence of social, cloud, data, and mobile. There was one slide on that. I hope you understand that those 4 things. The problem with Coursera, the problem with these MOOCs is they're focusing on one technology, just like our healthcare system. You have a problem, doctor? I have a problem in my leg and my head. Say, well, you take care of your own head, I'll look at your leg and I'll send you a bill. Hey, what about the head? I was having a headache. Can you look at both? No, come tomorrow. Maybe the leg ache will solve the headache and, So, what am I saying? Training is focused on one thing at a time. Let's train you on big data. Let's train you on Android. Let's train you on this. Let's train you on that, right? But when you show up at the workplace, so now you're at Applied Materials or Intel or wherever, right? And they're saying the resume reads need all these skills, right? And then Coursera comes and says, I have these courses for XYZ. Lynda.com, I have this one. And these MOOCs, right? So now you're in school more than you're at work. You come to Dianza, we're a good place. Then you go and read, go get trained on MOOC. And then you're also doing your own stuff. And you're working. And you're taking care of family. So you're a multidisciplinarian already, doing all this, right? So folks, what I'm saying is, rewind. Look at the traits. Find a focus, right? Go and look at the job descriptions for the job that you want, okay? Use that strategy to enumerate the skills. Then you can start applying to those jobs. Is there a database out there that does that already? Is somebody going to do that for you? No. You're your best champion. Do that analysis, procure your interest, then procure the skills, and then apply for jobs. And there's a way to apply for jobs which I'm not going to cover tonight because that's for next Thursday. Now, the basis of whatever my claims are has to be data driven because I'm talking about big data here, right? So my source is pwcmoneytree.com. You should probably write that website down because I don't know, I probably didn't put it, but here is the data that talks about the investment trends. PwC is a consulting firm. They look at the investment data across the United States for newer companies, new companies that are born. So when they look at those investment trends, this is across the since 95, so the last 20 years. So when you see where the money is going, right, in software, and you look at the years, right, you can clearly see that during the dot-com time, there was a bubble, okay? And here is another boost of investment, which is much higher than what happened in dot-com time. And if you look at NASDAQ, what it was then and what it's now. And are we going to have the same kind of dot-com burst again? The answer is no. This is what I mean by we learn from our mistakes. Because the way the funding transpired during those times, those of you who lived through it, some of you are probably not even born, or were born but don't know, right? Go read about it. People were getting funding just because they had an idea. They had a big marketing party and then they went public without a product. They had nothing to sell. And then there was no talent, and talent was coming from overseas, and when they lost their jobs, they left their cars at the San Francisco airport. Leased new cars were left at the San Francisco airport. They took a flight back home. That's how times were bad. Okay? Now when the investments have happened, just like the mortgage industry, there's more care in the venture funding as well. So when I make a conjecture that maybe there is a slowness coming, right? It's basically by this slide. So you can go and look at other. So now we're looking at, see, software is getting a ton of money. This also helps me. I mean, I can select an area. I can say I want to work in semiconductors. So the degrees in electrical engineering, bad idea, based on these trends, because software is getting more funding. Now look at the semiconductors. The trend is not as strong. I mean, look at 2000 and look at today, right? There is that boom and there is this boom. You see, that's where my, when I look at the layers and I say matured and infancy, right? There is that linkage to the data. I'm not trying to make some assumptions because that'll be like, you know, standing in front of you guys and saying things with assumptions would be a bad idea. No, there are still assumptions, but there is some data to back it up. Like my brother would always say, back it up with data, Bob. So, coached by him. Consumer products and services. Fitbit, right? All those fantastic devices. And Uber, oh my God, $50 billion. Now they want to take over rental car companies. And the Uber effect is going everywhere. So like one of the jokes on Facebook was, I'll walk with you. So this is called Uber Walk. You pay me for walking with you. What? Healthcare services, right? So when you think of these industry trends, the technology trends, also technology is everywhere. There are 18 different verticals, major areas where technology is applied. Look at those, look at those trends. Because then what you can do is, well, I was at Intel in semiconductors for 10 years. Now I want to go in pharma. Then I want to switch to something else. And so what will happen as you being in tech career, you will be changing lanes about 17 times during your lifetime in high-tech career. If your high-tech career is 40 years long, you'll change lanes 40 times, minor or major. Okay? That's a lot. And it's just what? It's not you, it's you keeping up with everything. You don't keep up, you don't have a job, skill set. Information Week says these are the brilliant jobs, right? So it's not like research around these areas is not being done. There is also, analysts that are looking at this stuff and saying, So then I say, okay, what is Dianza doing, right? So we have some courses across the popular areas. Now, if you want to be a UX designer, you're the creative type. I'm good in art. I want to learn Photoshop, web design, go do the creative stuff. Your life is already complicated with all the different devices. If you're the investigative type, the paranoid, everything is wrong with everything, you're a great QA engineer, right? You'll go and investigate problems, right? So not because you can have this broad, sorry, I didn't mean paranoid as in like being paranoid literally, but that is a skill. That was how I was trying to describe it, okay? If you're good with people, and you can empower people, and you can inspire, and you can bring the best out of them, become a project manager, a technical project manager. So you can become a time management system and take care of stakeholders' needs, align the budgets to processes and outputs, delivering fantastic products. And if you're not that person and you just like to say, I like to create new things, then you're a product manager. So get some expertise in software engineering for about 5-7 years, then go become a product manager. You become a mommy of a product, male or female. You become the mommy of a product. You'll bring out the next Samsung, maybe the next digital wallet. This wallet is getting old. A new wallet is required, guys. How about a digital wallet that can take care of, it looks like a wallet, right? And it has a license and it's like a tablet. So when I open it, it shows my license. The picture is not so good, but it's there. An electronic wallet. And if somebody steals it, what happens? Lockout, like Android. Oh, you got my wallet? No problem. And we're going with digital currency anyway. You're a product manager. So your traits in this digital economy. So I've created a set of slides which today it will be recorded. Yes, it will be recorded. Hello. Shall I cover that last slide?
Yes, please.
Amber Lavich class I couldn't attend it.
You cannot do that. Mobile technology behavior. When you are in a professional meeting, turn off your devices, and if you take a phone call, swiftly step out, take the call, and then come back. So, very important. Okay. Okay. So this is a slide on traits and leadership.